Kong Skull Island is my fifth most anticipated movie coming out into 2017, and the second movie in the Monsterverse, which started back in 2014 with Godzilla. Now, say what you will about Godzilla, but I thought it was a decent movie, especially for my favorite monster of all time. I grew up watching monster movies, so this one's kind of hard to judge. On one hand, I loved it. I honestly thought, as a giant monster fan, it was made for people like me. And then for the general audience, though, if you don't like giant monsters, you're not going to enjoy it. You see, I grew up watching Godzilla, King Kong, and a whole bunch of other movies, so much that I actually broke my original VCR tape of the original Godzilla. Let's start out with the cast. Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson are the two really big leads. I thought they did a good job for what enough was handed to them from the script. John Goodman and Samuel L. Jackson were also pretty decent in this movie too. I like John Goodman and Samuel in pretty much anything they do, and I really like it when they take on these more serious roles, even though it's just a fun movie. The script, however, was kind of weak. It follows a lot about the people, and honestly, I could care less about the people. I want Kong, and I'm proud to announce that this movie had Kong in it, I thought, more so than the Godzilla had Godzilla in it. He's in the forefront. He's in the full action, and he's glorious to watch. It starts out, or he's in the beginning of the movie, then you get some him all throughout the entire movie, and then it gets to the end, where it has the really big final showdown. Now, a side note, a little bit of a disappointment for me is, besides one or two creatures that I can think of, there were a little lacking in the giant monster area. Not that I wanted a full, destroy all monsters Rumble movie, but I could have used a few more, just to make myself happy as a giant monster fan. The soundtrack is excellent. It's probably one of my favorite soundtracks I've ever heard, but I grew up listening to 60s, 70s rock and roll, and if you like that music, you'll enjoy it too. I suggest going to get the soundtrack. It was awesome. There's parts where they play songs that slow down and speed up, and it just sounds amazing. The sound editing in the movie is great. The cinematography is beautiful. Seeing these shots of Kong with the sun in the background gives you this really idea of how epic he is. Now, it's no secret that this movie was made just to set up the Monsterverse and have King Kong put in it. That way they can do the 2020 movie Kong vs. Godzilla, or Godzilla vs. Kong, whichever title they're going with these days. But that comes after Godzilla King of All Monsters, which is going to be an epic showdown between some of my favorite giant monsters to ever be put on film. But back to this movie, I thought the pacing was okay. The story's pretty simple. They crash on the island and they're going, trying to get off the island. Now, there is some side plots and some hints toward Godzilla in the movie, with the monarch situation that these movies rely on so heavily. But it's pretty basic. It's easy to follow. But like I said, if you're not a giant monster movie fan and you're going for the acting and the story, I'd honestly probably just wait to DVD. It's nothing that you would want to spend your money on at a movie theater, at least. It's kind of hard to rate, honestly. I am trying to be honest with this movies. On one hand, I loved it. On the other hand, I can see how some people were a little iffy about it. So I'm going to give this 2 ratings. But we'll get to that too. Let's first talk about John C. Reilly. And I know a lot of people, during the trailer, he came out and started telling jokes, and they were wondering how serious this movie can be with John C. Reilly in it, because he came out punching with jokes, and they really just let him go with it. And I felt it worked for his character, because he's been crashed on the island for about 30 years almost. And I felt that it was good with his character, but overall tone of the movie, it kind of kept shifting. And I could see that becoming a problem to some people. I could never really pinpoint the tone. On one hand, it's a war-torn movie about a giant monster and focuses a lot on soldiers' lives and how they're going to get off the island. On the next, you got John C. Reilly waving a katana telling jokes about killing people. So I can see it getting a little mishy-mushy, but I think that has to do with the script. I don't think they really could focus on the tone too much, and I think overall that hurt the movie. The editing was well done, the directing was well done, but let's get to the most important thing, Kong. That's what you go see the movie for, right? Well, I'm pleased to announce this Kong kicks ass. He's probably the biggest Kong. In fact, I think he is the biggest Kong we've ever seen on film. And I like how he stands upright more than being a natural gorilla, because it just gives you the feeling like he could actually do some damage to Godzilla. Now, it is fact that he's smaller than Godzilla now, but they do hint to the movie, and I've heard this before. He's only a teenager right now, so by the time in 2020, when he has to fight Godzilla, he'll be a full-blown Kong adult. and he'll be roughly the same size as Godzilla. And he kicks a lot of ass. He really does. His fights in this movie they are the highlight. That's what you go see the movie for. Grab your popcorn, watch a giant ape kick some ass out of some giant monsters. If that's what you want, you're going to have a great time. I found this movie very fun. It was a fun, safe movie to go see. I just want to see giant monster fights. That's what I paid for. That's what you're going to get. There are some parts where they focus on humans a little too much, like I said previously. And the characters aren't very well developed. I don't really care about them. They got top A-list actors to do it, which was a good idea, but the characters fell flat. The script wasn't that great. But that's not what I care about. I care about giant monsters, and this movie was literally just made to set up the Monsterverse and to have Godzilla versus King Kong and make lots and lots of money. But like I said, I'm a fan of giant monsters. I love Godzilla. I love Kong. I like seeing them fight. I cannot wait until the next movie, which is Godzilla versus Godzilla, King of all monsters. I keep messing that up. But I'm going to give this 2 ratings. For the general audience, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But for monster lovers like me, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. So take that as you will. I loved it. I thought it was great. And stay for the post-credits scene. I know all cinematic movies are doing that now, cinematic universes. But stay. You will not be disappointed if you're a true monster fan like I am. It was glorious. I'm not giving anything away here. But oh boy, I can't wait for more of this. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the review. I'll see you next time here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.
There goes a sight from my store.